أتاني مرة نزق ليسألني بما دنت، فقلت له أنا رجل أحب الله يا أنت، أتسأل كيف منهاجي أما بالحق آمنت، عباد الله إخواني فكن منهم إذا شئت، وكن معنا على حذر من التفريق إن صنت.
Okay, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. So, I really want to thank you guys for turning out again in big numbers today. Also, we want to talk about what's happened in Ta'if. If you guys remember last week, we spoke about Adas, and we also spoke about the incident of Ta'if, and we also spoke about what really happened, and he made a dua. And one of the things I said to you, whenever Muslims are in difficulty, one of the biggest things that we can do is we can make dua to Allah, we can remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually brings tranquility to heart, and at the same time it also helps us come close to Allah, and it helps us in many other things as well. So inshallah, as I said, there were other things that were happening as well. Today we're going to talk about the Islam of the Jinns, and this is the first Jama'ah of Jinns that will become Muslim, and also we'll speak about how he enters back into Mecca, because we need to understand, because he's left Mecca now, he's got no protection. It's like when you come on to Australia, for us exactly, someone like me, well, who came on a visit visa to get married, and even though you do have a British citizenship, you still have to have the rights in order to stay in this country, and if the visa expires, you have to go back to your country. So it was kind of like that. He had no visa to come back, so he had no protection to come back, because his uncle had passed away, and the only way to come back was in order to get some protection. And so we'll speak about that inshallah, what happens as well. And also we'll speak about the Iman of Najashi, how he also becomes Muslim. And this is a very silent conversion to Islam, and Rasulullah is informed. And there is an incident before he becomes a Muslim, and we'll speak about that incident as well inshallah. Also, I want to speak about today in particular, in the middle of the talk, I want to speak about domestic violence in line with what happened in Queensland. I actually want to remind the community as well what our responsibility is and what Muhammad SAW says about that. I know it was a very, saddened story, and makes really, brings an anger to us what really happened to that woman, and also the children burnt alive in the car. It's really saddening. Often newspapers, very easy to brand a Muslim, of any other name in the world, they can think of as terrorism. It's always a terrorist. And also, as I speak, back home in London, there's a masjid there. A lunatic stormed in during Salah, and he was trying to stab the Imam. Unfortunately for the Muazzin, who actually came to the refuge of the Imam, and he was stabbed multiple times on his neck. And while we speak, even that guy was said it was a stray attack. And so, and there was no word for terrorism. Why? It happens to be a white man. And sometimes I wish, being white is so, it takes you out of every other thing that happens in society. It also happened to another guy who was psychologically ill in Germany, who actually had a gun, and he killed 6 people outside the shisha lounges. Even then the media and even the government, the Miss Markle, she came out and she wouldn't call it a terrorism attack, and she said it was a racist attack. Often Muslims, every other word in the dictionary is lost. The only word they find is a T word. and we get branded. I mean, if you see someone like me, even if I was disciplining my son, the headline would be a Muslim terrorizing his child. I mean, they would come up with the T word on that as well. So, yeah, but having said that, we will speak about that towards the end as well, inshallah. So now, I mean, as you know, Muhammad SAW has been kicked out of Ta'if, and a very difficult time for him. Guys, do you need that fan? If you, because I got to scream more. Well, although I do need that fan because I come from a very cold place, but I'll live without it. So, no, it's all right. It's the voice in my camera is not going to be good, so we'll sacrifice for the noise. Well, they say hellfire is going to be hotter, so inshallah, we're not going to say we're getting used to it, but inshallah, Allah takes us to Jannah. But, you know, sometimes we need to know how hot feels as well. So, you know, if you, inshallah, happen to go to Saudi, do go to Ta'if. So, in line with Ta'if, I mean, it's a tourist place now where Rasulullah SAW was stoned, and just at that particular place there happens to be a masjid. And these people are really hospitable. It's a great lesson for me and you. We do get angry at times at people. We want to take their lives. It's our own children sometimes. You know, we don't talk to them if they don't do something what we wanted them to do. Our own brothers and sisters, we don't see them for years. And this is Rasulullah SAW. Allah gave him a choice to crush these people. He allowed them to live. Within the matter of 10 years after the Battle of Hunayn, and we're going to speak about this battle, it's a great battle that happens, and after that Battle of Hunayn, all the people of Ta'if predominantly accept Islam, and Ta'if becomes a Muslim country. And also there are many masajids. If you go there, people are very hospitable. It all comes down to the mercy, and it reminds us of the amazing ayah of Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. That Rasulullah SAW was sent as an example to you. And what was that example? وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And that guy was a rahmah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for the whole alameen, for everyone, not just for us. I mean, if it wasn't for his rahmah, today these people of Ta'if, there'd be no Ta'if on the map of the world. Because the angel of the mountain said to him, ask me whatever you want. He said, قُلْ مَا شِئْتَ. Say whatever you like. I mean, I'll do that for you. So now, after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we said he actually rested at Qarn al-Thalib. Qarn al-Thalib is the place where it was slightly outside Ta'if, just before Mecca, and it's a very rocky, mountainous region, and that's where he rested. And at that point in time, now you need to understand another lesson coming towards us. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the middle of the night, you know, battered, injured, tired, he stands up in the middle of the night and he wants to pray tahajjud. How many of us, you know, today we struggle to pray 5 times a day, let alone we want to pray tahajjud? I mean, some of us probably don't even know what that is. You're probably going to be thinking, when did that come down? Did Jibreel just came to Shaykh now and told him there was another salah? Well, no, actually this was a salah which was right in the beginning, long time ago. If you know Surah Al-Muzammil, actually Allah Ta'ala speaks about this surah in that He says, Ya ayyuhal mudhammil, qum al-layla illa qalil, nisfahu aw inqus minhu qalila. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually is giving an order to Rasulullah, and all the Anbiya of Allah actually prayed tahajjud. If you guys didn't know that, it was a sunnah of all the Anbiya. They used to pray in the night. And also, it's an amazing saying, if you did not know, if you wanted to ask Allah of anything, any of your du'as, and I think Suleiman's here. Suleiman, if you need a phone, you need to be listening very carefully. So, if you wanted to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of anything, then that's the time. Because Allah says, who wants whatever their need is, Allah comes down to the first heaven. Now, it doesn't mean Allah comes down to the first heaven. I mean, this is a theological thing. I'm not going to go into that. But the hadith clearly says he descends down to the first of the heavens. And the first of the heavens is where we are. I mean, the sky that we see is the first of the heavens. And so he descends down and he says, who wants, or whatever his need is, who wants to ask for forgiveness? And all those things that we want to ask for, and Allah comes down. And what we do is we are sleeping. And you know what, often I say this, we were so lucky back in UK, if you were in the winter days, you'd be amazed. Fajr Salah actually finished at 8 o'clock in the morning. As a time, Fajr actually finished. And Fajr used to begin at 6:25. I mean, Fareed can definitely vouch for me on there. And so, if you, and even then people are so unlucky, some of them don't even get to pray. We're actually coming to a good time in Australia as well. If you, most of you go to work and you actually wake up early in the morning. And that early in the morning you can still catch Fajr. I mean, today Fajr finished at 6:39. So even if you were up at 6 o'clock, you'd be still able to catch Fajr. And Tahajjud, you probably need to work a little bit more. It's 5:06, the time for Fajr. You just have to get up early, just 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes. And don't, see, if you want to be smart, a smart businessman is not one of those people who goes and he wants everything in one day. You start building up a habit. So the best way to build up a habit is to wake up 10 minutes or 12 minutes before Fajr every day. And so it comes to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Inna Allah yuhibbul a'mal." That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the action, the ones adwamuha wa inqal, the ones which are done consistently, even if they're little. Consistently, that's what we need to do. A man would probably get up 2 hours before. Probably some of you might be pumped up after the speech. Tomorrow, you're going to be up in the night and praying Qiyamul Layl. The next thing you know, you'll be lifted on the back of the stretcher because you woke up and you did so much and you're never going to wake up for the whole year. So don't do that. 10 minutes is what you need, or 15 minutes, whatever your capacity is. 5:06 is Fajr. Have an alarm set to wake up. At least wake up for 5 minutes, because you need 5 minutes. Thanks to mobile phones, thanks to the word snooze. Because of snooze, we all just snooze and lose. I mean, there's all rhyming words. And what they say, if you snooze, you lose. And that's what happens, we just keep on snoozing. So let's at least give ourselves 5 minutes to wake up. After you wake up, make wudu. Only pray 2 rak'ah, that's it. That's what I'm asking you guys. 2 rak'ah. And after that, make dua to Allah, whatever you need. Whatever. Allah is the one, Allah is khaliq, ala kulli shay. And Allah will be happy to give us whatever we want. So inshallah, don't be stingy when it comes to Allah. You know, when you want to ask your mom and dad, you even ask whatever, even you know they can't afford it. I mean, the prime example is in my house. I mean, I asked my son what car he likes. He said he likes Bugatti, and I said, I don't know if you're going to see. I'm going to see that in my lifetime. Well, he tried. Well, we should be like that with Allah. Ask Allah whatever you want. So, and as long as it's halal, as long as it's good for you, inshallah. So, and this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the middle of the night, battered, bruised, tired, and he starts praying Qiyamul Layl. And when he prays Qiyamul Layl, while he's reading Quran, there's a conversation that the jinn has. There's 2 stories about jinn. There is one, Laylatul Jinn, which is not this one, which will come later on. But then there is another one, which is now he's about to enter Mecca. And at that particular time, he's actually sitting over there while he's making, and all these angels come and they start listening to it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ. That, you know, when these guys were traveling and they heard, and they were gathered, and they heard all this, the group of jinns, يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنِ. And they heard Quran. So, فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوا قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا. And they all gathered, حَضَرُوا, and they said to be quiet. One of the examples comes to mind, and this is something that we need to know. Today, when we are listening to Quran, a message, a clear message over here, that فَقَالُوا أَنصِتُوا. These are jinns who are actually not even Muslims, and their first time hearing the Quran from the mouth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're saying to be quiet. And often when we are listening to Quran, mashallah, we listen to Quran so casually, and it's so true. If I was to ask the youngsters over here, how do they learn songs? Everyone's going to say, I don't read lyrics. I should just hear it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then I know it. We've been listening to Quran all our lives, but we don't listen to Quran the way we listen to music. If we started listening to Quran the way we listen to music, today we would have memorized Quran, would have more Quran in our heads than we had this music in our head. You know what I mean? No one's prone to it. When I grew up in my time, and one of the biggest ones were Beatles. If I was to sue any company to clean my head's hard drive, I would definitely sue Beatles. Why? I still have Beatles in my head. I mean, there is this thing that we do with music, but we don't do that with Quran. In a classroom setting, when you tell the kids to be quiet, they'll be quiet for everything, but when it comes to Quran, whoa, they just start remembering everything, everything starts coming to them, or how their mum wanted them to get the grocery from the store. All those things are coming to them when they have to listen to Quran. And so the message is, حَضَرُوا قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا. So as soon as they were hearing Quran, then the other groups that were arriving, they were telling them to be quiet. فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. Once they heard that, they ordered their people, and not just they ordered their people, they also became the warners. Munzirin, the word comes from the word in Arabic is to nazar, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning. So they become warners, and they become messengers, and they take this message to other jinns as well. Now there's a very good point over here. Did you know that jinns also follow the religions of the humans? And this is the jinns. There are Muslim jinns as well. There are also Christian jinns as well. There are Jews, there are Hindus, there are Buddhists, all these jinns are there, all out there. They all follow the religion of the humans. So now this was the first time they've ever heard it. Now why I say it, because it is mentioned in the ayah that they will say amongst their conversation that this is a message exactly like the message of Musa. As it says, say, قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى. They're saying that we have heard, to the nation, to the people of the jinns, that we have heard exactly a message of this kind after Musa. So they've heard, they know about the religion of Musa, of the Jews. And remember, when they say Musa was a messenger who was greater. We've actually spoken about this. If you were in my early sessions, I gave you a rundown about Musa. Musa was like, a statesman. And that was like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why whenever you speak about the Jews, you always speak about a statesman, like a president, someone who had the power. He executed many powers. But Jesus was not a statesman. Jesus was a da'i. Isa alayhi salam was not a statesman. If you remember, they always bring that example when a woman was convicted, or wallahu alam, the word, I'm not sure if she was convicted or not. I don't want to make a mistake over here, but there's a story they bring, whoever is not a sinner cast the first stone. And there was this lady who was convicted. Again, I'll keep on using that word. I mean, there was this lady, there was an allegation. And no one cast a stone. So they say Jesus was always forgiving. But they don't understand Jesus was not a statesman. Jesus was in the time of the Romans. He didn't have power. He was even, there was a time when he was in hiding himself. because the Romans had, and the rabbis of that time who were against Jesus, they had passed an order for the killing of Jesus. So he was in hiding. So if you know the story, Judas, and Judas is the guy who was one of the disciples, and he comes to the Romans and to the soldiers and he says, I will tell you and take you to the hiding place of Jesus. And from there the story comes where they believe he was crucified and we believe he was resurrected. And so again, I mean, just highlighting the belief that we have, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ, that he was not killed and he was not crucified. Allah actually mentions in the Quran. And so what our belief is, he was resurrected alive with his body and soul. Now people will ask, I mean, how can someone be resurrected alive with body and soul? I mean, you all believe that Muhammad SAW went to Miraj? I mean, if you don't find it hard to believe, then that's another messenger we're speaking about. For Allah to take another person like that is not hard. وَإِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا kun fayakun. If Allah wants anything, He says and it becomes. It happens. So it's that easy for Allah. And it's not me and you, we're dealing with someone, it's Allah that we're dealing with. For Allah, nothing's impossible. And that's why this imposter came. And also it's good to know, there is a masjid in Marsden. Again, I always make a mistake. There is this temple in Marsden Park, which they call a masjid. And it's just right next to IKEA, and this is where the imposter comes from. And he follows, they say they're Muslims, but actually they're not Muslims. It's unanimously agreed amongst the Muslim population that this guy came with a claim that he was the last prophet. I mean, it's just funny, yeah. I mean, for you guys it's funny, but they've got close to, if I'm not wrong, they've got a big following. It's about 8 million, I guess. It's a big number. Africa has a very big number. India has a very big number as well. Pakistan has a very big number. That's where their headquarters was. And later on, when they were persecuted as a minority, they had to move to London. I mean, in London, they've got a very big place in Tooting. So, and Tooting is where they've got a house called Baytul Huda. And if you know Arabic, it's the house of guidance. I mean, we call it Baytul Shar. I mean, this is the house of misguidance. That's what we call it. So, and this was a guy who came and he believed that Jesus died. And his belief was really far-fetched. I mean, not to make anything up. He said Jesus died and was buried in Kashmir. No exaggeration. You read his books. He said he died and was buried in Kashmir. Now you need to understand, Jesus was in Jerusalem. And in order, if you were on the back of a camel as well, you need to pass through many, many stages. And it's a very long journey carrying a body. And that body will be rotting by the time it gets to India. There's no freezers or chillers or anything like that. So even if we believe what he said, and then he said after that, I mean, this guy was amazing. He was, you know, there are liars. This guy was an international liar. They've got a liar, and there's another form which is called the international liar. And then I always say this, do not bag a community. And I mean it. Why I say this? Because we should never, speak about any community. They're good in every community, but we should always target the individuals, the liars. It's our right to speak about an individual. So what we are saying over here, there may be good people in their community, but they've been doomed. Why? Because they're following this liar. And guess what? In his own kitab, he's got a book called Ruhani Khazain. In Arabic, it's called the spiritual treasures. And if you were to find the opposite, it would be Shaitani Khazain, like satanic treasures. I mean, that was about 17, 18 volumes. He actually wrote that. And in that book, I mean, not going away from the topic very quickly, in that book he also says, no exaggeration again, he says he met some angels. You know, the angels got some great names. You know, one of the angels that he met in his lifetime, you know what the name was? I mean, you guys want to laugh? His name was Tichi Tichi. I'm not making it up. His name was Tichi. And there's another name as well. I mean, I have a lecture on this on it's about an hour. I spoke about his background, this person. And also, just to finish off, he actually died in the toilet. Now you're going to think, how can he die in the toilet? Back in those days, if you lived in India and those places, there was no toilet. Wherever you were, that was a toilet. Why? Because he was sick, and so they had to make a portable place for him, which was right next to his bed. And while he was getting off his bed and he was sitting, and actually his son says this, when my father died, he was in that state. So do you think Allah will take any prophet in that state? Prophets die in the highest of the states. You know, I'm going to give you another thing also, and if ever a liar comes, one of the things about which is only for the prophets, you probably may have heard this, a prophet, being a male prophet, I mean, I'll just, because there are children, there is something that happens when you reach, when you reach adulthood as a man, and we all, men have a discharge, and that's natural, and prophets don't have it. I don't want to say the easy name for it, but the prophets don't have a discharge. Even when they reach maturity, and even if they're not married, they don't have a discharge. It's only for normal humans. So in Arabic the word is ihtilam. The prophets don't have it. And can you imagine if this is how Allah kept it? Because this is something that comes from shaitan, and Allah protects His prophet. Any prophet that has come, he's never had this. So if someone says he has it, his son actually writes in his book, my father had many of these when he was young, and he writes in the book. So if he's writing all this, how can someone be a prophet? And also the other thing, when a prophet is born, he is actually circumcised. They don't have to be circumcised. There was one example which is only given to us in the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which we all know. But this is how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you know as well, we spoke about the seerah, and we spoke about the miracle which was in the early episodes, that when he was born, he was circumcised. That was one of the miracles, if you remember that. All right, now going back to what they said that inna sami'na kitaban unzila min ba'di Musa and musaddiqan lima bayna yadayhi yahdi ila al-haq wa ila tariqin mustaqim. So they're saying that this is a book, exactly a message very similar like Musa alayhi salam, which has been sent to us as a guidance. I mean, it's come down as a guidance which takes us to the right path, and at the same time it also teaches us what is truth. And haq is truth. Haq is what is the right, and Tariq mustaqim is the right path. So this is exactly a message like that. So what did these jinns do? They did not just stop there. They went to the other jinns and they started speaking to them about, and this is mentioned in Surah Ahqaf, if you want to read it. It's mentioned in Surah Ahqaf, and quickly I can tell you the ayahs as well. It's ayah number 29, 30 and 31. So, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوا قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا. So as soon as they were directed by the voice, so they were listening, something they heard, and they saw Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was praying, and they all came, they started listening, and they said to be quiet. And after that, فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنْزَرِينَ. So when they left, after listening to that, they just did not just leave like that. They became warners in their own people. They went and they told them that this is the message. And what did they say? قَالُوا يَا قَوْمَنَا إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا كِتَابًا أُنزِلَ مِن بَعْدِ مُوسَى. We've heard a book that was sent exactly after Musa, exactly the same message. It carries very similar message. And مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. And this is something that it teaches, musaddiq, the word comes from sidq, truth. It has truth in it. And so بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم. And it teaches us the truth and it shows us the right path. And then it says يا قومنا أجيبوا داعي, that it is saying that, O our people, respond to this messenger. يا قومنا أجيبوا داعي إلى الله وآمنوا به يغفر لكم. And follow this messenger, whatever this messenger is saying, and believe in him. And what's going to happen? يغفر لكم من ذنوبكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all your sins. ويجركم من عذاب عليم. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save you from the punishment of fire. And that's what's going to happen. So when these jinns, now you need to understand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed all that humiliation to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he went through that tough time of Ta'if. Now Allah is consoling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah is saying, don't think that these people, your own people, did not listen to you. Allah has taken your message far. Allah has taken your message as far as the people don't even speak Arabic. Remember who accepted Islam and kissing the feet was Adas, and he was from the far off land. He said he was from Nineveh. Nineveh was a place of, we spoke about this. I mean, I'm going to test some of you. What was that prophet from? The prophet of Nineveh. You guys have, yes. Yunus, mashallah. Been listening, Shihab? That's good. You're not like my son. I mean, he sits, but he pretends he's listening, but, you know. So, yeah, so he was from the land of Yunus. And so he, as soon as he said that, and that himself was a miracle for him. And he said, you are a true prophet. And he started kissing his feet. We spoke about the ihtiram. And we said if you show that respect to your parents, there's no problem with that. And the kids who sit here, I hope they were kissing your feet the last whole weekend, the whole week. I think Suleiman is he here? He's already run away now. So, did he kiss your feet or no? Not really. Okay. So I thought the kids probably will do that. But this is what they say, it was a practice. And we said we can do that. I mean, I don't want to ask Farid, he's already smiling. That means he's been pampered the whole weekdays, yeah? So, and so basically, Adas from a faraway land who's not even an Arab, not even from the family, accepted Islam. And after that, Allah said, we are not going to stop over here. We're going to give you, humans are not believing in you, supernatural things will believe in you. And jinns, like that's why, you know, when we say the word alameen in Arabic, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent not just for the humans. His message was carried to the jinns and to everyone. And that's why he was such a special man. Everyone knew that what this man is and what his existence will be and how we have to follow him. And so basically, as I said, there are all kinds of jinns, and so they're all converted. They went and they started telling their people. Now there's another story, what really happens, but I'm actually not going to tell that story now, but I want to speak about how he goes back into Mecca now. There is another story, which I'm going to tell you how after he gets back into Mecca. Now, you need to understand, Abu Lahab, when he said to his grandfather, they asked, where's your grandfather? He said, oh, my grandfather is with his people. And Abu Lahab was very happy, but then, you know, the two bad guys we spoke about, they came, the biggest of them, the Fir'aun, Abu Jahl, and he came, and he said he fooled you. What did he say to you? He said, my father's with his people. He said, where does he say your people are? He says your people are in the hellfire. So he fooled you. And Abu Lahab actually subtly, not telling him, but he said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're on your own, pretty much. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam now needed, if you guys have lived in the Middle East, there's something called kafil. You need somewhere, it's a kafala. You know, you need, it's kind of like a protection. So in order to do your business. So he had no one to give him kafala, or it's actually sponsorship. The word is sponsorship for that. So he has no sponsor now, pretty much. So he makes, now this is the highest level of tawakkul. He left his land and he came out believing Allah will help him, And even after that, he's sitting down in that valley and he's praying to Allah. He's done everything. Now you need to also remember, us as humans, we go through stress. We do get stressed when we are in difficult situation. We go through that time. But what are we also learning? There's another message that we need to learn. There is no problem in going through our emotions when we are stressed. We do get numb. It's like you wanted something and it didn't come your way. And you become numb. Like people are talking to you, but you're not listening. We all have been through that emotion in our life, some way, some form or the other. We just don't understand. There are people trying to talk to us, but we're not really registering that. But we also need to understand Muhammad SAW from that numbness after he didn't know what was happening. He was stoned. He sat down there. Now he's come out of it and he made dua. So there's a message for all of us. You will go through that in your life. You will become like that. But do not keep yourself in that state forever. Ask Allah for help. And that's what he did. And now you need to understand he's been 10 days away from his country, from his people. Everyone's so happy. Now he cannot get back in just like that. They already wanted to kill him in the time of Abu Talib. His uncle's not going to protect him. If he goes in, that's an easy target for anyone. So now he goes to the first one. He needs an entry. He needs a visa to come in the country. So now first he goes to Aqnas ibn Shuraiq. Aqnas ibn Shuraiq is also we spoke about this in the earlier lessons. There are many tribes, predominantly 15 to 20 tribes are the big tribes. Banu Nawfal and Banu Abdul Dar, Banu Abdul Shams, Banu Umayyah, Banu Abdul Muttalib, and all these other tribes, and the tribe of Walid ibn Mughira, I always forget, Banu Makhzum. So these all big tribes are there. So he needs, in order for one tribe to take him on, meaning to give him protection. So in order to get into there, he needs a leader to say, look, we give you a visa, we sponsor you, and you can come back. So he's sitting down. Who was he sitting down with, Ya Shihab? He went with one guy. There's one guy with him on the trip. And he also got battered. That's right, mashallah, he was his slave, but he also adopted him as a son. What was his name? Zayd ibn Haritha. Zayd ibn Haritha is with him. And he's asking Rasulullah SAW, how are we going to get back in? And now, Aqnas ibn Shuraiq, he comes with a flimsy excuse. He says, my tribe is not very strong. I can't hold up to Bani Makhzum. I can't fight Walid ibn Mughira. And I can't fight these guys. So I'm sorry, Muhammad SAW, I can't take you in. And now he goes to the next one. And the next one, you also know this name really well, Suhail ibn Amr. And Suhail ibn Amr is he's from the Banu Amr ibn Luhay. He's from the tribe of Amr ibn Luhay. Remember Amr ibn Luhay? These are not the Jurhumis. These are the other Arabs who started the idol worship. So Suhail ibn Amr is from there. And he says to him that we are from Banu Amr and we are always in resistance with Banu Ka'b, which is your tribe. With the Banu Ka'b were the tribe of Muhammad SAW and the Jurhum. So I can't do anything for you as well. Now you also need to understand Rasulullah is not just asking anyone. He's asking the people who have some sort of respect for the religion, and they are good people, and they have some goodness. Why? And the wisdom is over here. Both of these people will become Muslim later on. Aqnas ibn Shuraiq becomes a Muslim as well, and also Suhail ibn Amr becomes a Muslim. How many people know who Suhail ibn Amr is? He's a very famous man in the seerah. He's actually part of one of the most important treaties that was written after he went to Medina. And this was Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. So the guy who signs that treaty from that side of Quraysh is Suhail ibn Amr. And when Rasulullah SAW looks at him, what does he say? Sahlu amrukum. He says now everything's going to be easy. So we know what Suhail means in Arabic, comes from the word Sahal. Sahal actually means easy. Easy. So Suhail just gives another flimsy excuse. Now you also need to remember, it's like there are good people amongst us, but they're not there, they can't help us, they're not powerful. And so they feel bad. And so what they do, they just give you an excuse. And sometimes we get angry. Rasulullah is not getting angry. You know, sometimes you want something from someone, and this person is, he has that thing. He can give you that. But he's scared of his own image, and he cannot, if he helps you out, he's going to lose in the community. So he just says, you know what, I'm busy on that day. It's like you invited someone to come to your house, and this someone was not friends, was your enemy's friend as well. And it was your friend as well. But now, this someone will not come to your house. Why? Because if your enemy finds out, they're not going to be going back to that friend. So what do? Oh, I would love to come to your house, sister or brother, but you know what? I've been invited on the same day to someone else's house. And incidentally, you know, even if you invite them 6 months in advance, they're always going to be invited on that particular day to someone else's house. This is just amazing. Sounds like my schedule. So basically, they both say that they just give excuse, and they also feel bad inside, but they can't help. Now he goes to the third man, and this third man, when he gets the call, he just doesn't send a messenger outside to Muhammad SAW. He actually sends his 4 sons, and he tells all his 4 sons to arm up and to put on their gear and go outside and escort Muhammad SAW and bring him to Kaaba. And I'll meet you there. And who is this? This is Mut'im ibn Adi. Mut'im ibn Adi is from the leader of one of the most strongest tribes, Banu Nawfal. And he says, bring him in and I will give him protection. And guess what? Mut'im ibn Adi does not become a Muslim. He only lives for another 1.5 years and he dies. And the time that he was alive, he gives his protection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what happens, we'll find out. We're not far away from the migration now. It's probably 5 or 6 more episodes, and he's going to be migrating. And so it was not far off from migration when he slept in the bed. Ali radiallahu anh slept in his bed, and he did the pledge of Aqaba with the Medinans, and then he went to Medina. And prior to going to Medina, just before that time, Mut'im ibn Adi passes away. Mut'im ibn Adi is a great man. Now you need to remember why he was a great man. Where did he hear this name again? It's not far away. We spoke about this name very shortly, probably 2 or 3 episodes ago. Who was this man? That's right. There's a guy who always felt for his own community. He would send the camels, the loaded camels in there. And also the one who stood up was one of those 5 people. He was the last one to stand up and say that you're wrong. And he was the one who actually went in the Kaaba to look at the treaty that they signed, which was eaten by the termites. So Mut'im ibn Adi was always in favor of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a good man. It's like, you know, today, and I want to give you a message over here, everyone. Today we have friends in the community outside who are not Muslims. They yearn for us. They stand up for us. You know, they do so many things for us. It's like, you know, often Muslims, we shun you know, some communities. But if you look at that, sometimes these communities actually stand up for us, and they say they speak for our rights. And there is no problem. What our civil liberties are, it's their liberties as well. And so these guys have the same civil liberties. And what our freedom is, whatever we are asking for, we're asking for religious freedom in this country. We're asking for every other thing. And other groups are asking for that as well. So it shows that we are not allowed to hate someone for what their beliefs are. We should never hate people for that. You know, for what the person is. We should hate them for, you know, particular for what their belief is against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't mean that we hate the person for that. And you know, you guys sit over here, you may have some really good friends. I mean, I can give an example. Today I shared a post about domestic violence. I've got a very close friendship with Rabbi and he's probably listening, he always listens to me, he says, you're very critical about the Jews. And so he is Rabbi Zalman Kastel, very famous guy, probably you might know him as well. He runs an organization called Together for Humanity. So there was his birthday very recently, and he invited me to his 50th birthday. And the Jews, 50th birthday is a very big thing, and it's like, you know, they've reached maturity, and so they've been preaching God for all that time, so it's a big event. They invite everyone, and so he invited me for that, but for some reason and my own emergencies, I could not attend that. And so basically, after that, I sent him a card. I actually wrote in the card, I said, you know, as much as you want me to be in your paradise, I want the same for you. I want you to be in my paradise. So for you, your version of paradise is different from what my version of paradise. But wherever God takes us, because I see so much goodness in your heart, I believe one day we both stand together in the paradise that I believe in. And I put a smiley face over there. So, and I hope he gets the message. But he always, like I shared a post about Islam, and he just tagged on it, and he wrote big bold letters on his own page, this is my close and dearest friend Imam, and he put my name down. And after that, I've been tagged and got friendships for all these guys that I don't even know of. And so it's like, you know, we should not hate anyone as an individual. We should look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are imams who will tell us that leave this country and go. It's my, I mean, this word's not good for me. It is kind of like my country now, but it is our country. You were born here. You've been living here. No one's got the right to take you out of this land. You should be allowed to practice your religion. That's why Rasulullah was kept on going back to Mecca. Don't you think he could have gone to Ethiopia, to Najashi? All the Muslims were there. He did not want to go there. He would have a peaceful time over there. But he wanted to come back to his country, exactly like you guys, all the youngsters that sit over here. This is your country. Let no one dictate. No imam should have the right to tell you to go to a Muslim country and practice. You're more needed over here. With your khair, other people will come to Islam. So don't think that you have to go back to your home countries. This is your home country. If your dad's not come to an agreement with that, or your mother's not come to an agreement, you will never survive in your parents' country. They've got a very different culture. You guys have learned so much. You know, I'll give you one example. If you ever went to your own countries, there's no queues over there. There's no lines. You get frustrated. People lie every now and then. These are Muslims. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a Muslim can be anyone, but he cannot be a liar. And you know what? In our country, lying, so, well, us as parents, we lie. I mean, I said to my, it's like, you know, we sometimes, I mean, I'm not going to shy away from that. It's like my wife grew up all her life in Australia, and one day I was trying to say something to, you know, my child, and I was saying something, and my wife said, don't say it, because if you're not going to do it. She said, I grew up like that. My mom would say, we'll get you that tomorrow, and that tomorrow never came. So I always used to think, when my mum said something, she's not going to do it. It's like us, you know, we tell our child, you know, I'll buy it for you tomorrow. That tomorrow never comes. We just want to get them off our backs. Don't lie. And so when you go to your countries, I mean it, they all lie. Lying is like it's a culture. It's like, you know, what we do in the and then they have no respect. If they're class conscious people, if your family is rich, then God forbid how they treat the miniatures. I shouldn't say that word. I mean, I sound racist there as well. How they treat the lower class of the society. They treat them like dirts. That's how they are. It's like, oh, you know, we can't go there. My car does not even go through those alleyways. My car's bigger than the alleys over there. That's how they are. And we're never gonna, if you want to go back, parents, by all means go back. Don't take your children there. They're not lost over there. It's their country. We have a responsibility to live and grow our children over here so they can take Islam forward. And that's what Muhammad SAW is teaching us. Let no one tell you that where you need to go. This is your country. You've come here. People actually change completely when they come here. It's like you get amazed, like how the manners you have and what you've taught. Yes, they might be racist to us. We all have our battles. Now with the battles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what is he teaching to us? And also the non-Muslims, they're not against you, not all of them. All these non-Muslims are not against you. There are racist people. There are people in this world who are like the orange shaitan, Trump. There are people like him as well. But then there are good people as well, like Nelson Mandela. We do khutbahs. The Imam actually speak about Nelson Mandela. I'm actually going to take it more further. There's a leader in India. People actually don't speak about him, Gandhi. Gandhi was a man of values. Did you know that? Although we speak about Jinnah very highly, but Gandhi was a man who actually wanted a nation for everyone. And some of the sayings of Gandhi, he was a man who had impetus. And he was a man who actually had, and that was his nation. He wanted to see everyone together. Yeah, but that was another story. There was politically, whatever it was. We went with Jinnah or we went with Gandhi. But there are people who are good, and we have to speak about them. There's people that have come good. Everyone was very excited when Miss Ardern from New Zealand, when she came out. That was the only first Prime Minister ever in the history of Western world who actually called a person terrorist, a white person. She said it. That was the only Prime Minister. And I spoke about Miss Merkel the other day, the Germany. She gave a press conference. She just said it was a racial attack. So it takes a lot of courage. Whoever's good, we say it. So, and this is what it was. So Mut'im waited for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the Kaaba. He knew Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to come out and he's going to do tawaf. And he came out, he did tawaf. And Mut'im actually joined him in tawaf. And when they finished tawaf, Mut'im made an announcement. He said, I am the one who protects Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and no one dare touch him. And then Abu Sufyan gets up and he says that, are you converted to his religion, or are you still on the religion of your father? And he says, I'm on the religion of my father, but I protect him and no one harms him. And so Abu Sufyan says, okay, then that is okay. So see, there was a wisdom in Allah that Mut'im did not become a Muslim. Why? If he would have become a Muslim at that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would again be persecuted, because whoever became Muslim, they persecuted them. And so there's a wisdom of Allah. And also there's another saying, and this will be the end of Mut'im, we're not going to speak about him. Rasulullah said, in the battle of Badr, when there were 70 prisoners of war, when they were sorting them out, and they were looking at them, and he uses the word in the hadith, filth, for them. He says, why filth? Because they came to fight, kill the Muslims. He said, for all these people that sit over here, if Mut'im was alive and he said, I want them back, Rasulullah would have given them back like that. I wouldn't even have charged any ransom. That's how much respect he had. And so we have these people in our communities. Keep working with your friends. And your neighbors, everyone, they need to see our khair. And do not force your children. And often that's the case, that we often say, when we are getting fed up of, sometimes it's like, my dad as well, he's not really fluent in English. Probably lived half of his life over there. My mum cannot even put a sentence together. So, if you know, we're like the Lebanese back in UK, because the Indians and Pakistanis have flooded UK. So we're like the 75% to 80% of the population. If you went to Dewsbury, which is, and then Fareed's laughing, if you went to Dewsbury, you'll probably be amazed. They don't even speak English over there, some of them. And so it's like, so mum and dad, for them, they never needed that. So they always had their own kind. So for them, even in the factory, I'm amazed he worked in a factory and he still managed to work there for many years, and he couldn't. But he can put some words together. But again, he's not very fancy as I am. So, and this is how it is. So it is. If you decide to take your children back at any point, your children will become like those freshies. I mean, the word in UK is freshie. Over here, you say fobs, fresh off the boat. I mean, we say freshies. I mean, they don't understand freshie. So your children will be freshie back home because they would not be able to speak the language. And our children are not very sharp as well, don't get me wrong. The children overseas are really sharp. I mean, a 2-year-old child is at the 7-year-old level over here. He's probably doing everything on his own. 2-year-old goes to the market, buys things and come back. Our 7-year-old is not even going to be able to hack that. Over there, parents just leave their kids on the street. Today, we're so paranoid. I mean, my wife's paranoid. Well, outside the door, she doesn't allow them. And then guess what? Who has to do the job? Me. I'm standing there watching all this, and I'm resenting to be out there. So it's like, this is their country. Let them embrace it. Help them. And help them build their identity. So, I'm mindful of the time very quickly. So he takes his 4 sons out and in the valley, and also they're the distant cousin and Mut'im. That's the end of Mut'im. We're not going to speak about Mut'im anymore. And after that, Mut'im dies, and we spoke about how he's going to go to Medina. Now, there's another incident that happens about the jinns. Actually, this is slightly longer, so I'm going to leave it. This is about Surah Jinn. I'm going to give you a background. I'll read this incident later on in the next week, and I'll tell you. But there's a thing in our culture, especially predominantly the Indians and the Pakistanis. And we're really superstitious people that you'll find on the face of this earth. And it's good. Why? Because you can bag yourself. No one can call you racist. So it always helps. But if you say to any other community, and this often happens in the school, I was called in the principal's office, I gave a khutbah, and I was very critical about the Pakistanis. And my principal said, a parent's made complaint about you that you're racist. And I'm like, what did I do? And so he said, you were bagging Imran Khan in the khutbah. And I said, well, yeah, but I was just giving an example over there. I wasn't really saying anything bad. And so she said, and I said, she said, I laughed because I know you're Pakistani as well. So I told the parent he's a Pakistani himself, so how can he be racist? So it always helps, if you're from the same country, no one can call you racist. So Pakistani people are really superstitious. If a black cat passes your car, you cannot leave the house in many cases, because you might not be alive after that if you drove. It does. I mean, it does happen. So, Surah Jinn, I mean, we're growing up, we're reading Surah Jinn, we're learning Quran. No exaggeration. See, we've got a mother laughing at the back, so she already knows where I'm going. So, my mother, may Allah give her long life and health as well, would say, don't read this surah. And I'm like, Mum, what do you mean? I mean, it's in the Quran. She's like, no, you don't read this surah alone, because you know what? The jinns come if you read it.
They say if you read 70 times, you can see them.
Yeah, so if you read it 70 times, then you can conquer a jinn. I mean, don't try it at home. So, they give a disclaimer, don't try it at home. So basically, yes, there is this superstition. I mean, don't read the surah jinn this way or that way, and then it's like just, you get amazed, like it's in the Quran. Why would, the incident is, yes, the jinns do come listen to the Quran, what the incident is when he reads this surah, and they come and they become Muslim. And so we'll speak about that incident later, inshallah. So very quickly, before we go to the Q&A, we still have about 5 minutes. When's Maghrib today? It's at 7:50, right? Yeah, so basically, is it 7:50, I guess? I think so. Oh no, actually it's 7:41.
If we pray 10 minutes.
Yeah, all right, fine. So basically, now what happens, Najashi, how does he become a Muslim? Najashi, as you all heard the story before, Amr ibn al-As, he goes there, when Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah, these are the two guys that are sent over there, and they're the ones that are trying to bring them back, and Najashi, being who Najashi is, and he is a just leader, and he sends them back and he gives all the gifts back. Now there is a coup against Najashi, and so there's a fight which is happening between Najashi to save his government, and also there is these religious leaders from the other side, they're fighting in order to take over his power. Now Muslims are really scared. And this fight, this battle is happening on the other side of the river. Now remember, there was this guy, well, very special guy, Zubair ibn al-Awwam. He's over there. He's the early Muslim. So now they want to find out what's happening. They're anxious. You know, you want to find out. If you're under someone's protection, if they lose, you're gone. You've got no place to live. So they're making a lot of dua to Allah for Najashi to win. But at the same time, they're very anxious as well. So now there's no life jacket, nothing. Abdullah ibn Zubair, as what he is, a courageous man, and he volunteers, and they tie something around his waist so to keep him floating, and he swims that river all the way on the other side to see who's winning. And he's going back and forth, and making, all the Muslims are making dua, and eventually Najashi wins, and they're very happy, and they get to stay on. And after that, it's said Jibreel alayhi salam does come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he informs about the iman of Najashi. And but Najashi does not keep it. He keeps it secret, and he never comes out with his iman. And later on, when he dies as well, Allah sends Jibreel to Rasulullah in Medina, and he says to pray janazah for Najashi, a Muslim brother of yours has died. So it does show when you are in power, and in order to seek power, and if it's a predominantly a country where you're never going to get power, you can practice your religion in a way in order to get power once you get there. And if Allah gives you power, then you can openly come out. So you do have, I mean, this is something I always said, we in Australia have to do big moves, and I encourage everyone to be in politics as well. In Australia, we struggle. I mean, we don't have anyone. Back in UK, we've got a big cabinet of Muslims in all of the second in line after comedian Prime Minister Mr. Johnson is actually a Pakistani who's the Home Affairs Minister, and what's his name? Sajid Khan? No, Saqib Javed. Oh, not Sajid Khan, Saqib Javed. Yes, so Saqib Javed, the one they called him Coconut in the Parliament. Coconut, yeah? You remember the coconut? Yeah, so Saqib Javed. So he's a Home Affairs Minister, and he was...
He was Chancellor, Finance Minister, but he resigned.
He resigned?
Just 2 weeks.
Oh, alhamdulillah, Allah saved us. I'll delete that later. He's a sellout, but there is a difference between a sellout and the one was trying to promote. But yes, Saqib Javed was a Home Affairs Minister in the time of Theresa May as well, and even in the time of Johnson. He was racially abused in the Parliament. He was called a coconut. Why? Because he does not have hair. He's got a shiny head, so they called him a coconut. And he was not very happy with that. And so he made a big fuss in the Parliament. He did a speech on coconut, and I think it was... And also why I don't like him, because he actually said openly that the best place in the world after my house is, he said it was, what's the capital of Israel? Tel Aviv. Yeah, he said he really enjoys going to Tel Aviv, and he really likes the people over there. And you know what, I'm again not being racist, because he's a Pakistani as well, so there you go. So we'll finish off on there, and if you want to come up with questions, I'm happy to take questions. We've still got 5 minutes, inshallah. Yeah, Hamza, you got a question today? No questions. Yeah.
No, how you said...
I didn't say anything. Oh no, just kidding.
Jinns they can be Muslims. Does that mean they're good?
Yeah, there are good jinns as well.
Oh, okay.
So see, what does the Quran say? Quran says Allah created both jinns and humans so that we could worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That was the whole purpose, where we both are created with intellect. We have intellect. So being born with aql and intellect, we make decisions. We've got Muslims, we've got different religions, and we're making decisions. So Muslim jinns will be going to heaven. There'll be good jinns, and they'll be going to heaven as well. So yeah, there are Muslim jinns, and you never know, even the jinns gather in these gatherings, and they come and they listen. You never know, there might be one sitting next to you. So yeah, don't get freaked out, your dad's there, don't worry. But they are really, jinns are very powerful creation of Allah. They don't need any visas to go anywhere. They don't need to sit on a plane. They can go to UK. It's not going to take them 21 hours to get them. Probably take 2 minutes. They do have really, they are quick, they're fast. They travel the distance. If you remember the story of Sulaiman, when the thing about the throne comes, and they say, who's going to bring it, who's going to bring it? And then the jinn says, I'm going to bring it then. But after that, the one says, even before you blink your eye, I'll get it here. That was a man of knowledge. It's actually, that one's a man of knowledge. It's not even jinn. So what it does, if you're a believer, for another time, inshallah, but very quickly, if you're a believer, if you have knowledge, you've got the power that you don't even know. A believer and a knowledgeable believer is really powerful. Because you know, the biggest power is to separate between good and bad. That's the biggest power. That's superpower. You're a superman if you know what's good, what is bad. And not a lot of us actually are superman. Why? Well, even if we know what is bad, we just turn our blind eye. You know, we just say, you know what, no one's watching. So you know when your dad said don't open the fridge in the night, but when they go to sleep, you say no one's watching. But you know what? Allah is watching. Yeah, so anyone else before we go? Yes.
Like immortal or immortal jinns?
Alright, jinns do have life as well again. And so they will, but they've got a longer life as compared to what we have. But the only one who's immortal is shaitan, because he asked for respite. Oh Allah, allow me to live. No one's immortal except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also, you know, on the day of judgment, just when the trumpet's going to be blown, and at that, when everyone's going to die, Allah will actually, the last one to fall will be Malak al-Maut. The hadith says that. He's going to ask who lives, and the angel of death will say, oh Allah, you're the most knowledgeable, you know who lives. Then he's going to say, I live, Jibreel lives. I'm just going towards the end. So he says, take the life of Jibreel. So then he's going to say, who lives? He says, oh Allah, you are the most knowledgeable, you know who live. I live, you live, and I live. And you, when he says you live, he'll use the words, you are ever living. He'll say that, and then he says, I live. And then Allah will tell him to take his life. And then at that point, he's going to make this comment, that if I knew taking life was that difficult, and it was that painful, I would have never taken anyone's life. So yeah, so the jinns are not immortal. They also have an expiry date. Everyone's got an expiry date. Anything on the shelf has an expiry date. Consider us being on the shelf as well. We'll all have some sort of expiry date. Someone's gonna, so you know there's a saying, before we expire, let's all aspire. So inshallah, let's all aspire and help this community. So we'll finish off on that. If there's any other question, I'll take it. If not, yeah. Who? Yajuj, Majuj. Yes, these are humans. Okay, yes, they are, because the hadith is. Okay, there was this controversy recently. Our esteemed sheikh, I'm not going to name him, is from America. He actually made this comment, and when he said, it doesn't fit the intellect, along the lines, I'm not paraphrasing him, but along the lines, he said, it really becomes very hard for a believer to believe that something's being surviving, existing for this long time, and how can it be possible? So there is one opinion, he said, that they could be like zombies, and they would be living and they would come out. But this, Allah, the hadith is very explicit. For Allah, they've been there, they've been behind that barrier. Allah has put them, there's a big nation. And many people have come with many theories. I mean, they're Chinese, they've got eyes like that, they've this and that. There's many theories. But they are somewhere, they'll come out when they have to. And we ask Allah that they do not come out in our time, because even Isa is not going to be able to deal with them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will order Isa alayhi salam to go in hiding, and then Allah will destroy them. And once they're destroyed, after that Allah will send a rain to wipe them as well, because they'll be so big in numbers that they'll be rotting on earth. So a big flooded rain is going to come, and it will take all their bodies away as well. And so yeah, they are humans. And they're mentioned in Surah Kahf, and also there's a big chapter on them in Hadith as well. And the signs of the Day of Judgment, they were actually mentioned in great detail in there. They're two nations. So Zulqarnain was a king who actually barred them. And so one of the things about them, they try to make hole through that and break that wall every day. And the Hadith says they don't say inshallah. And when they go to sleep, the hole comes back up again. And so they start digging again, they see a little hole, and they say, we'll continue in the morning, and then it covers again. In the night, it covers again. So one day, once they see the hole, they'll say, inshallah, we'll begin again tomorrow, and that's how they'll be able to break that. But not the Arab, inshallah, I mean the actual one. You know, the Arab, inshallah, it's like me telling my sons, yeah, inshallah, we're going to go there. But it never happens. Yeah, I said inshallah because Allah did not will it. Yes?
When Prophet Mohammad SAW was reading the Quran and the jinn were there, did he know?
Yeah, he knew that, because Allah actually, after they were listening, then Allah showed him, because he could speak to the jinns as well. Allah had given him, Allah had given him he could interpret the dreams, he could do everything that we can imagine. Also, he could even see at his back as well. The hadith mentioned in Shama'il al-Tirmidhi, when he would lead the salah, he would know what was happening behind. Rasulullah was a special being. Like, he was one that Allah chose out of everyone. And so he knew the jinns were there. And why? Because he had to know that, because Allah was also giving him peace, tranquility. Actually, I said I'm going to mention about domestic violence, but I didn't get time, inshallah, next week. But just to summarize it, what really happened, and there's a hadith of Rasulullah SAW which says that, and even this was known, and you know, the men often were the perpetrators in the time of Arabia, and three things were mentioned in there. The first thing that was mentioned in the hadith, that don't slap your wives, because the Arabs used to slap their wives. And the second thing was, do not emotionally put them down. And then the third thing was, do not kick them out of the house. You know what was the emotionally putting down? When you start calling your wife names, you're too ugly today, or there's so many beautiful women out there, and they emotionally would abuse their wives. There are many ways of emotional abuse, so they would do that. But inshallah, on the next week I will mention that. But this is something which was tackled 1400 years ago. So we already knew what was about, you know, all these things that happen. And that's why Shaykh Salih al-Uthaymeen said this statement, an amazing statement. And this happens in our communities. I mean, we have people who are so righteous, so blessed in the community, very well known, but in their houses they're monsters. They're monsters, and I mean it. And because I'm a marriage counselor, I know so many people that this is my covenant with God, with Allah, that I don't have to bring them out. But I know people when I talk to them. And Shaykh Salih al-Uthaymeen said this statement, I'm going to finish off on that. He said, if you want to know how a person is, how a man is, you ask his wife. You never ask his mother or father or anyone else, because they will hide his faults. A wife never hides the fault. She will tell you off the bat how that person is. So yeah, well, inshallah we'll finish off on that. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروا الله إنه الغفور الرحيم.